Hello. Hi. Welcome to Locs Talk Live with your girl, Pammie. Now, I know you might notice that there are some changes, particularly to my background. And yes, there are some changes to my background. Changed some of my furniture. And because I had to change some of my furniture, I also had to change some of my artwork that's behind me. Um, because the paintings I used to have behind me hung lower, and the sofa I had before sat lower. So I traded out my queens for my Egyptian pyramids, as you see from here. And there's some over there too. You're not going to get all of them in the background, but you also see here another one that I did was a glass of wine and a bottle of wine being poured into it and all of that stuff. So yeah, my surrounding did change. And the position of my camera, I put it a little bit further back and higher up because, again, big couch is kind of deep. And it's like all up in my business when I have it like right in front of me like I usually do. So, pardon if you hear doors opening and closing. I did inform my family that I'm live, but still, they're all home. So I apologize if you hear doors opening and closing in the background. Uh, this week we're going to talk about a great topic. So we're going to go back over here and let's get started. Yeah, I had to match my bar with my furniture and the walls. Welcome to Locs Talk Live with Pammie. I'm Pammie. Hi. This Locs Talk Live is streaming live using StreamYard software. You can see the little emblem up there in the corner. I can put the link in the descriptions below if you would like to try it out for yourself for free. You can. I've been using it, the free feature, for a few months now, trying it out. I like it. So starting in January, I will definitely be starting my membership. And when I do Locs Talk Live, I will be streaming from several platforms, which this software allows you to do. Um, Furthermore, let's get started. First, I want to start with an introduction of myself for those of you who are new to Locs Talk Live. Hi, I'm Pammie. I'm a loctician and a loose natural hair organic hair care specialist and hair care provider and a lockologist. A loctician, simply put, is I start, maintain, educate, and support my clients through their lock journeys. There are many people who self-title themselves locticians, but do not have the education behind it. Oftentimes people say, if I can palm roll, I'm a loctician. Any and everyone can palm roll. A palm roll does not a loctician make. There's more to it. Second, loose natural organic natural hair care specialist. Simply put, is I care for natural hair in its natural state without altering it from its natural state by use of chemicals or high heat. I care for your hair in the state that it is in currently as it grows out of your head. Um, and finally, lockologist. I study locks from its origins to its ever evolving present time now. It's important to continue to study locks because there's always an evolution of locks changing. So, lockologist simply is the study of locks. Anything start followed by ology or ologist is the study of. Okay, so Locs Talk started with writing a blog on my website, as you see posted here. I will have also the link in my description below as well, because I know that's a long ass name, but that's what it's going to be. It is. That's what it is going to be. I started out educating through writing a blog on my website, but it's only visible and available to members on my website. Now, there's a good amount of people now on my website. Not all of them are registered, so they do not have the luxury of seeing the education that's written in the blog. I do have sort of a social anxiety thing. So it took me a while to get to this place where I can get on camera. And I reminded myself when I'm doing this, currently from what I can see, my only audience is me looking back at me on my camera. So it made it easier for me to transition into going live. But I've become more and more comfortable each week as I come back and have these discussions on Locs Talk Live. So I thank you for helping me to get more comfortable with going live and talking to you to educate you about your hair. That's very important to me. And so you can write that down or go in the description when I edit later to bring everything all together, right? So what are we going to talk about today? Today's topic that we're going to talk about is the changes of aging hair and answers to some very helpful questions about aging hair. So we're going to talk about the seen and unseen changes of aging hair today because it's very important and very crucial that you understand that you don't have to get to a certain age where your hair starts turning gray and that's aging hair. Your hair ages, it starts aging a lot sooner than that. And so this talk is for everybody. It does not matter what your age is. This is information that is very important for the simple fact that with aging hair, I don't want you to get caught off guard. The reason why I chose this particular topic this week about aging hair is you've heard me be very transparent about it before, and I'm not shy about sharing that I'm currently now in stage 2 of menopause. There's perimenopause, there's full-on menopause, and then there's postmenopause. And now I have transitioned from perimenopause to full-on menopause. And I'm getting caught with a lot of surprises beyond what the doctor gives you like a brief summary of certain things to expect that pretty much everybody knows about, like mood swings and hot flashes. But they don't tell you about a lot of the other stuff, like skin conditions and stuff that happens to your hair, like the changes of density and thinness and again, like my skin, because I didn't go through skin problems when I went through puberty, but I damn sure going through skin problems with the reverse shit happening. You don't see the effects of it now because I started taking collagen and doing like an extensive skincare regimen to make sure that I don't look crazy. Because like at the end, I don't want to get too sidetracked. I don't want you getting caught off guard. Caught off guard in regard to what's happening with your hair. Why is it changing? It's not anything that you're doing. If you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing to take care of your hair, it's not you. It's nature and the process that your hair is aging. Hair does age. So we're going to go over some very important questions that I feel that you should know about and be educated about so that you're not caught off guard out there when it happens or when it begins to happen. Okay? And there's literally a it's not you, it's me thing when it comes to how our hair is going to behave, right? So let's go down to the first question that I have here. As you come in, just say hi in the chat so I know who's here. Okay. So the first question is, At what age does aging hair changes begin to rear its head or its ugly head of being seen and noticed? So now we're talking about aging hair that's seen. Aging hair, believe it or not, does not begin with older age. That's number one. Okay. But in fact, will begin much sooner than you think. Noticeably as early as 30 years of age. I'll say that again. Noticeably as early as 30 years of age. From texture changes to seeing your first gray hairs to active dryness that may start to build up, and you're like, what is going on? I'm not doing anything different than I've been doing over the years with my hair. Why suddenly am I having scalp issues and flaking and dryness and brittleness to my hair, feeling like straw and things like that? It has nothing to do with you or what you're doing. It has everything to do with the fact that your hair is aging. And that is what it is. Okay? So, the next question, what's the first thing that we all associate with aging hair? Gray hair, right? Hair starts turning gray. Now, at the end of the day, I also share very often, I have been graying since I was in my early 20s. I saw my first gray hair when I was 22, and over time, it just started coming in more and more. Now, up until 5 years ago, I was still coloring my hair. More than five, no, less than 5 years ago, up until 3 years ago, I was still coloring my hair to cover my grays. And it was in 2020 during the pandemic. I said, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not coloring my hair anymore. And the last time I colored my hair, it wasn't even to color the gray. It was to cover the ends of my hair. Because if you know my journey, you know that my locks were red for years. I would say for the first, I believe, up until 3 years ago. So for the first 5 years of my lock journey, my locks were red. Then I stopped dyeing them red and covering my gray. And it was growing in. So my roots were dark with the gray hair coming in. And then I have red on the ends. And I was like, I don't want triple ombre hair. So the last time I effectively colored my hair was in 2020, but it wasn't to cover my gray. I stopped covering my gray 5 years ago. um, with that being said, that's generally what most people believe is that the first sign of aging hair is gray hair. But in fact, it is not. So the next question here, how do I care for my aged hair? No, no, no. Let me go back. Wrong question. What causes gray hair? Give me a second. Rick, 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 Rick. Never mind. It's my youngest son, his voice, he does not realize how much his voice carries. I know y'all can hear him talking in the background, right? Tell your brother his voice can be heard on my line. He's talking very loud. Okay. So, to answer the question, what causes gray hair? Gray hair, simply put, is hair that is absent of pigmentation and melanin, right? As we age, follicles produce less melanin, thus making growth with each new hair growth cycle produce gray or white hair. Okay? I'll repeat that. Gray hair, simply put, is hair that is absent of pigmentation and melanin, right? As we age, follicles produce less melanin, thus making growth with each new hair growth cycle to produce gray or white hair. Okay? With that being said, now I go to the next question. How do I care for my aged hair? I'm going to give you a list of things on how to take care of your aging hair because of the different changes that occurs with the hair. Okay? Close his door. Ty! Thank you. Sorry if y'all heard him talking. Okay. So, ways to care for aged hair. Number one, keep scalp and hair well nourished using blends of essential oils. Now, I have a number of essential oils on my table over there, and I make different ones that works for me. You can formulate whatever your specific needs are. As I said before, one of my symptoms for menopause is that the density of my hair started to change. So my hair was growing in less dense than before. The texture of my hair is still medium to thick, but the density had been decreasing, making me more, for lack of better words, scalpy. You can see my scalp exposed more. Density is simply the number of hairs that grows from your scalp per square inch. And that is what determines the density. Oftentimes people misconstrue and believe that density and thickness are the same. The thickness is by texture, the density is something separate. So you can have thick hair with low density. And so when you part it and separate it, you can see a lot of the scalp exposed, but it's thick enough that when it's out, it's like really full. Okay, so that's the difference. You can have thick and full hair, but still low density. So it's not going to cover a lot of your scalp. Right? Second, protect your hair from the sun. I spoke about this before with using SPF on your hair so that you're going to be out in the sun for long periods of time. I'm not talking about going to the store um, or for a 30-minute walk. I'm talking about if you're going to spend the day at the beach and you are in the sun for hours, protect your hair from the sun. The SPF will keep the sun from damaging your hair. If you want more of an understanding of how the sun can damage your hair, review back to my Locs Talk Live where I talked about summertime and how heat can damage your hair from the sun. Vacationing, and I also talked about it when I was talking about heat damage and bleach damage to the hair as well. Okay? The third thing to do to take care of your aging hair, keep well moisturized due to dryness. This includes using products formulated for aged or graying hair. Now, for me, I use Verb Organic Purple Shampoo and Conditioner that helps keep my hair well moisturized as a hydrating shampoo and conditioner. Um, Try to avoid using conditioners that has different types of silicone in it because what happens, it becomes, and if you remember, I talked about this before, you have that ceramic wrap film type barrier that is created by the silicone. So it will keep moisture from getting into your hair and getting in under the cuticles and into the cortex of your hair to provide your hair with the moisture that it needs. And once that barrier is there, it can form after putting the conditioner on. And while there's moisture there, once that moisture is gone, now any other moisture you try to put on it, it cannot penetrate through the silicone. So avoid using silicone-based conditioners. But for aging hair, as you get older, you want to invest in more shampoos that are designed for hydrating and conditioners that's also designed for moisturizing and adding extra moisture to your hair. Leave-in conditioners are excellent for helping keep the moisture level up as well. For locks, try to use more liquefied leave-in conditioners, such as refresher spray, which is like what I like to use for Made For Locs, by spritzing it on your hair. As my hair gets more and more gray, I moisturize my hair more often. I went from doing it once a day to now twice a day. And in the summer times, I do it up to 3 times a day. It depends on how much I go outside or how long I'll be outside, but I make sure that my hair maintains moisture. I also use aloe vera gel on my scalp so that when, as my hair is growing out, that adds the extra barrier of moisture to my hair, and my hair leaving my hair really soft, because you don't want your hair feeling brittle and like straw dry, right? So the next one, number 4, maintain hair in its natural state. Oftentimes, people's hair start to gray and age, and the older you get, if you continue to um, process your hair using chemicals and things like that, the more frail and dry and brittle your hair is going to become. So keeping it in its natural state will help it to maintain its health and moisture. So maintaining your hair in its natural state would be a better and more suitable for you as you age, as you get older. Okay. Number 5, avoid chemical processing can age hair faster and cause more damage, as I stated before. So avoid chemical processing because that can make your hair age even faster. Right? That's another reason why I stopped processing my hair all those years ago. Right? Is so that to avoid any processing and making my hair age faster. 6, avoid regulated use of high heat on your hair. Again, if your hair is aging, not just you being older, but if you reach a stage, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit about the hair growth cycle. If you're on the later end of that and you're going through the shedding part of that cycle, using high heat and chemical can make it so much worse. So when I go into giving you a better understanding of what a hair growth cycle is, this is what I'm speaking on, okay? Number 7, wear satin scarf or bonnet, or sleep with a satin pillowcase to avoid excess dryness. Not just dryness, but snagging and pulling, because when you have cotton pillowcases, it tends to snag and pull at the hair, especially if your hair is not moist, if it's dry. And that's going to happen a lot if your hair is not properly covered. The satin from satin bonnets and scarves and pillowcases actually helps maintain and hold moisture in your hair because it's not pulling it out. While the opposite, when you have cotton or poly blend of cotton pillowcases, it will absorb the moisture and pull it out of your hair. Okay? So the next one, and this one is a bonus. Bonus tip for graying hair: use diluted ACV to help, or apple cider vinegar, to help prevent yellowing or that grassiness tint to the hair. So like you can have gray hair and it has that weird orangey, brassy, yellow tint to it. I know that's annoying to a lot of people in the community that already has gray hair. I know it annoyed the hell out of me. In addition to this, the use of purple pigmented shampoo helps to tone that down too and tone up the silvery tones, making it look really beautiful and shiny and silver and shiny and beautiful. But to remind you, diluted ACV is 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar per 1 cup of water. You can put it in a little spritz bottle and spray it directly on your hair. It also softens the hair a lot as well. So it will help maintain and keep that brassy yellow color under control, but it will also soften your hair. And it balances out the pH level of your hairs also, because it adds that acidic, acid to that acidity, acidity with acid, you know what I mean, to help bring the pH, because your pH level of your hair is lower than water. Water is neutral, like 7. Your hair's pH level is anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5. It depends on the person. Okay? So you want to keep it balanced. this is an excellent question. Okay. Why is it difficult to dye gray hair? Now, you hear a lot of people, they keep it as simple as possible and they say it's difficult because gray hair is tough and it's just stubborn and all of that. While all of that is true, I'm going to dig a little deeper so you have a better understanding why it's so difficult to dye gray hair. Gray hair is difficult to dye because the cuticle layers are tightly packed down, making it difficult for color absorption. So if you think of a person who has low porosity hair and it's hard to get the hair to permanent, if you have a person with low porosity hair, generally a person with low porosity hair, let's go way back in the day when we used to get relaxers. We had mild relaxers, we had regular relaxers, and then we had super relaxers. Mild relaxers were designed for people who had high porosity hair because the cuticles are wide open. It can get in there, absorb, do its job, and rinse it out like that, lickety split. Regular is for people who have medium and or regular hair porosity. The cuticles are slightly open, so the processing of the relaxer can get in there and out of there quite easily. Super was designed to open up the cuticle so that it can get into the hair cortex and do the job of straightening the hair, changing the texture from curly to straight. The same thing happens when it comes to coloring. There's no way in. So it's difficult and you have to do a lot more. You have to add other services and other products in. It has to get involved when you're trying to penetrate gray hair because those cuticles are super tight, tighter than they are on low porosity hair. So it's hard to penetrate and absorb the hair because when you are dyeing gray hair, it's stubborn as hell. Now, generally, the only way that gray hair is generally going to absorb color is by using permanent color, number one. And a lot of people are not experienced with using permanent hair color. And I'm not talking about those cheap drugstore color dyes either. I highly recommend going to see a professional colorist to dye your gray hair because they know all of the different things that can be done to penetrate that stubborn gray hair. Trying it by yourself at home with one of those cheap box dyes from the drugstore ain't going to cut it. It might take and stay in for a few days, but it will not. It's not in there. It's on the surface, and eventually, after a couple of washes, it fades away, and there's your gray again. And you're like, damn, yeah. So it's hard. It's very stubborn. It ain't doing it. It ain't cutting it. Um, so that's why it's very difficult to dye gray hair. It's not just because it's stubborn and all of that. With the different changes of texture and all of that, the cuticles become super tight and difficult to absorb for color absorption. And remember, with permanent color, what it does is it gets under the cuticle and goes into the cortex, and it's in there. It's in there. And certain dyes like black is hard to remove because once it's in that cortex, it changes the whole um, DNA of the hair. So it's not going to all come out. It's like drawing on your skin with a permanent marker. You can wipe it off on the surface and see that it's gone, but it's still some beneath there in there staining. Yeah, so it's the same thing. It's like that with tattoos. You can laser it off, but you can still kind of see it in the skin. It's in there. It's the same thing when you're using certain dark dyes on your hair. When it gets into that cortex, it's in there. You can get a lifter and pull out as much as you want, but it's going to kind of be like a tattoo that you lasered over. You're still going to see parts of it shining through. Okay. Next question. How can I restore hair density to my aging hair and scalp? Now, I have successfully done this myself with my hair. Yes, I successfully restored the density, and it was really bad in the back. Like, I thought I was going to lose my back lots and have to do a haircut. But was going to, yeah. I'm glad I didn't have to do that. I was able to restore the density to my hair. New hair grew in, and once it reached a certain length, I took my little crochet and went to work. I was just going at it every day, doing a few at a time. But yeah, it is now back to the former glory, and the thickness is that. Now my hair has never been super thick, but I've always had like medium thick hair. The texture of my hair, I've always had um, medium density. So medium is simply this: I can part my hair, and it's not a whole lot of spaciness where you could just see all of my skin on my scalp. So to answer the question, first and foremost, there's no guarantee of density restoration. I have several clients that I've worked with that I successfully helped restore the density to their hair. Um, but it was more related to one, um, density was decreased due to a stressful situation that's no longer there, and so her hair is growing back. The other, it was due to a lot of medications that was taken post a medical issue, and now that the medicine has decreased, restoration of density and thickness can be brought back to that person's hair. Okay, in my case, the change of density was hormonal due to menopause. So the oil blends that I use not only helps with the growth of my hair, but it also helps slow down the transitioning process of my hormonal changes. So giving my body a chance to adjust. Because a lot of times the things that happens and changes with your skin and your hair and stuff like that really comes down to your body is being shocked into this new process of how it has to live. So with menopause, there's these big fluctuations and spikes and drops in the hormones, and it can cause all of your hair and everything to start doing stupid things. So there are essential oils out here that helps with the process as the estrogen is dropping and kind of keep balanced out. So it's giving my body time to adjust to the different new levels instead of it just plummeting. And I'm like left with the nonsense. Other people opt for hormone replacement therapy. I don't want to go down that path because I try to stay as holistic as possible. And so, unless it's actual, real human hormones, I don't want some synthetic stuff that they made it in a lab that kind of sort of is what my, no, we're not doing that. So, I try to stay more holistic. So to answer that question, first and foremost, there's no guarantee that density of density restoration. For some, it is more than just aging that decreases density, such as hormonal changes, which may mean decreased density is permanent. So it was not a guarantee that my hair was going to grow back. I'm grateful every day that mine did grow in, right? And it was because I also looked into oils to blend in there that helped to slow down the process and balance my body as it responded to the different levels of my hormones, right? That's very important. Density can be restored by massaging the scalp with nourishing hair oils, essential oils that nourish the scalp, which promotes blood flow and improves the density of the hair. So I use growth oils such as rosemary oil, cedarwood, lavender, to name a few. Peppermint also to stimulate my scalp and help blood flow to the scalp and things like that. So it was a number of different oils that I blend together, and with the base oil of jojoba and fractionated coconut oil. And then about 2 or 3 times a week, I was putting it. Now, when I first started using it, I was using it like every other day, but I decreased dosage of massaging it as the improvement came in. Okay, so Proper diet also helps as well, like increasing protein, vitamin D. If you don't want to take the oral supplement, just get outside for about 20 minutes a day in the direct sunlight, preferably high noon. That's when the sun is the highest in the sky and it gives you the nice, good absorption of vitamin D to your body. Um, Folic acid, zinc, and iron. All of these things will be helpful in helping increase and restore hair density, right? But that scalp massage that brings the blood flow back to that scalp will definitely help a lot with the process. Okay. Now we're going to go into talking about the life cycle. Remember, I was telling you that? So the question is there a life cycle for hair? The answer is yes. It is as what I mentioned earlier, we was talking about, right? Referred to as the hair growth cycle. Now, each hair growth cycle lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 years, after which there's a 3 to 4 month stage of immense shedding. Okay? Now, so that's where sometimes when people be like, I don't know what's going on with me, why is my hair shedding so much? I hope I'm not sick. 9 times out of 10, you're not. You just reached the end of another hair growth cycle. Now, what happens when your hair is aging? This cycle, the regrowing hair, as we shed hair, at the same time, it's like losing a baby tooth. So when the baby tooth come out, have the adult tooth coming in behind it. Same thing happens with the regrowth cycle. When we go through that 3 or 4 months of excess shedding outside of what we normally do, the 3 to 5 years prior to that period, is coming out, but you have new, thicker, healthier hair growing in behind it, right? But as you get older, you're going to get less and less. That's where the decreased density comes in when we say that the decreased density from aging hair, okay? But there is a 3 to 5 year regrowth cycle for your hair. So most people, if your hair is growing at a decent rate, which is approximately a half an inch per month, 6 inches per year, in a 2 to 3 year period of time, with keeping up with healthy regimens and things like that, your hair can grow really long, super long, 30 inches in that time, right? And your hair can go anywhere from 30 to 36 inches. Of course, trimming along the way, because your hair does have a life cycle, which is why trimming hair is not just to remove split ends, it's also to cut away dead ends. Think about the plants. When you have dead and brown leaves, what do you have to do? You have to remove those leaves so that it does not affect the rest of the plant. The same thing happens to your hair. Your hair is your plant that's growing out of your head. So if you have dead ends, you have to cut those off. This is why trimming is important. A lot of people out here, especially my sisters, you want to salvage that length because length means something to you. And I understand. I totally get it. But in order for you to maintain and keep that length, you need to trim those ends off. So continuing to read, during which the next regrowth cycle begins, hair at a rate of 1/2 an inch per month or 6 inches per year. As hair ages, the regrowth cycle slows down. In some cases, no hair grows back. Okay? And that's usually when it's somebody of older age. Note, with locks, once you reach your elder stage, the elder stage with locks is anywhere between 5 to 7 years after you've started your locks, okay? Um, you're going to start noticing like flimsy and frail ends that you can easily kind of just pull off with no problem. That's because the hair there is dead. And that's why it's important to definitely snip and trim those ends. Especially if you have like the little ones that's hanging by little balls hanging by a string don't pull them. Snip them off, because if you pull them, it's like pulling a piece of string off your sweater. You don't know exactly where that string is coming from until you pulled it and you're like, oh shit. Now you got this big hole in your sweater. The same thing that happened to your lock. You pull it and then you want to realize it's somewhere halfway up your lock and you're like, oh my God, what did I just do? So be careful, okay? Cutting away that hair increases. So make sure that you take that hair off. Okay? So at this point I answered all of the questions in regards to aging hair. And it's just me today. I get, summertime, so I know people are out doing whatever and things like that. But this is the time where I was going to Q&A for any questions you have about hair generally. So just since it's just me, there's no questions. So I'm going to go here. Age with grace. I know the last thing any of us want to do is age too quickly. And I understand that. For years and years, like I said, I started graying in my early 20s. And I was like, I don't want people thinking that I'm old and all of this. So I dyed my hair. And I probably caused myself more harm than good by doing that because I was covering up my gray hair. But when I started my journey to being my authentic and natural self, because I am 100% natural, there's no makeup on my face, with the exception that I have some lip conditioner on my lips, and literally it's no color. It's just, I put it on to condition my lips so it ain't all chapped and weird. And other than that, and washing my face and making sure I keep up with my skin regimen and keeping my skin clear. As you see, there's a glow here. That glow is there because I really got to work on my skin. One of my clients, she's very good at giving me advice on the proper things to use to keep my skin intact. And I appreciate her. Donna Lee, she's in here often, but tonight, a lot of times when I do this live, she's traveling home and it's hard for her to stay awake because she has a long day at work, and I understand. But she always comes back and watches the replay, and I appreciate her for that when she does. I make sure I take care of my skin. So age with grace. As you age, your body is going to continue to change. The vessel that you are living in is going to continue to change. The things you're doing right now to keep yourself healthy, if you're in your 20s or your 30s, those things may not work for you when you're in your 40s and your 50s and so on up the ladder. You're going to have to add things to it or remove things from it because our bodies are constantly changing. In the same way our bodies are constantly changing, your hair is constantly changing. You have these recycled, regrowth hair cycles. And each time your hair grows back, you have a different texture and type of hair that you're working with. So as early as 16, it's the end of the first hair growth cycle. So when we're born and we're babies, we have that beautiful soft hair, right? And by the time the child is 3 to 5 years old, that soft baby hair is gone, and now they have this full head of beautiful hair. And it's time for them to start school and all of the different hairstyles that we used to wear. I remember wearing beautiful pigtails and, with the little bobo hair ties and the barrettes and everything that I wore when I was little. But my hair texture then is not what it is now. You will notice also sometimes as you get older, your hair, your curl pattern gets more curly. And I don't mean coarse like going from a 3A to a 4C. I mean like you just get more springy little curls in your hair, which is what happened with my hair as I got older. My curls got more springy. When I was younger, my curls were more just these little waves. I went, you know, but the curls got a little more boing when I got older. So those are some of the different things that I embraced with as I was transitioning into becoming my natural self. From when I was in my late 20s, I decided I wasn't going to process my hair anymore. So that's when I went natural with my hair. And I went through all of my 30s natural. And now all of my 40s natural for 20 years now. and I'm enjoying it. And as I get older, I love me as I am. This is me. No makeup. This is me. Take me as I am or keep going. Age with grace. And just know that your hair is ever changing. Each time there's a regrowth cycle, you're dealing with a whole different head of hair. Stay upgraded and educated on how you need to take care of that new head of hair as it grows in through each cycle of regrowth. Okay. Thank you for joining me tonight for Locs Talk Live. For the one person that I do see here, I appreciate you coming. Um, and I won't be discouraged by low numbers during the time that I'm live. I will be back every week. Last week I wasn't here for personal reasons, but I'm here this week. I'll be back next week, and I'll keep showing up no matter what, because it's important to me that the education reaches you, whether you're watching it live or you come back and you watch the repeat later. That will do. But always know you age with grace. The time that you have here is borrowed time. For this vessel is on borrowed time. But you exist forever. You're only going to transition to the next. Take the education, all the things that we learn in this life, and take it with you to the next. Okay? Again, thank you for watching Locs Talk Live. If you enjoyed and received the information that I provided you today, hit that thumbs up, because oftentimes people don't realize that aging hair starts way before they think. It does not start when you start seeing gray hairs. It starts way before that. So make sure that you tend to yourself and your needs and learn what it takes to tend to your aging hair. Okay? Until next week, I will see you then. Thank you for joining me for Locs Talk Live. Bye.